How you doing today, folks? I want to go ahead and show you a landscape we just finished installing in Darien, Connecticut. And unfortunately, I am here at the worst possible time of the day. The landscape's in shadow and the rest of the area is in sun, so I apologize ahead of time for this video. But we are landscaping a house that was built in 1776. And just the left side of this house was built in 1776. And what I've been told is the house was built in 1776. And at some point, Lafayette slept in this house. And then in the early 30s, they moved the house from East Haven over here to Darien. So what you're looking at in front of you, this would be the older part of the house, which is gorgeous. I got a really nice tour of that, and it's beautiful. And there's a nice, chimney in the center like the older houses have. And then over here is this would be the newer part of the house, and I'm not really sure when that was built. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit just about some of the challenges of this house, because, every landscape, there's always a challenge. There's never a perfect situation for landscaping. And for me, I had a little bit of a hard time getting started on this one for a couple reasons. First off, because it's an older home, I didn't want to do a landscape that was going to be really modern. So I wanted to, not use shrubs of the period, keep the landscape somewhat toned down, and let the focus of the landscape be on the house. The other concern I had is if you look overhead, there's a fairly large overhang here, and that was causing me trouble figuring out what to do for the front of the house. And then the third thing, you've got a fairly narrow distance between the driveway and the front of the house. And, that was something else to consider. And then finally, if you look at the lawn over here, we've got a lot of stuff going on. There's an oil fill, there's a propane fill, and I think there's another oil fill over there as well. So, I had a lot of stuff going on. And I say, usually a design vision appears to me almost immediately when I walk onto a property. And I have to say that this one did take me a little bit of thought. And what I do if the design doesn't come to me is I always start with what I know, which I knew I had to put some gravel underneath this overhang because it was just dirt and mud under there. And I also knew I wanted to screen the air conditioners over here with some boxwood. So the first things I did when I designed this house was to go ahead and draw those on the design and then work from there. And once I put the drip edge in, I realized that I really didn't want to go, you could have very easily gone all the way across the frontier of the house with plants, but I think that would have been overdone, and I really wanted to use more of a minimalist style for this house and make it a beautiful landscape, but not something overbearing. So while we got you here, let me just walk you through some of the shrubs I used, a brief explanation of why, and we'll just give you the 50-cent tour here. So starting on the left corner of the house, and both corners of both sides of the front door are mirrors of each other. So where my drip edge stops, I've got a Bobo Hydrangea paniculata, which is a shrub that's going to grow 4 to 5 feet tall. It's going to bloom from midsummer into early fall, and then it'll hold those blooms through the late fall. And then I've got an oak leaf hydrangea over here, which is going to bloom in early summer through midsummer. And this is one called Pee-wee. So this is a dwarf oak leaf hydrangea, which is going to stay fairly small. And then it also has a really nice fall color. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't have the plantings overgrow the house. So the Pee-wee hydrangea is going to top out maybe 3 to 4 feet. The Bobo hydrangea is going to top out maybe 4 to 5 feet. And then we've got some Japanese holly here. And this is one called Hugendorn, which is going to top out at maybe 24 to 30 inches. And it'll spread maybe 3 feet, 4 feet wide as time goes by. I'm really hoping my Hugendorn holly is going to grow onto that gravel and soften the gravel a bit. And, in the front of the house here, everything's going to lose its foliage except for my Hugendorn holly. And then I've got some barren strawberry planted in here, Waldestinia, which is a very slow spreading ground cover with yellow flowers. It's only going to grow maybe 5 inches tall. It's got heavy blooms in the spring of yellow flowers. And then I've also got some Biakova geranium worked into the plantings as well. And I'll often do more variety of my perennials, but I really wanted to keep things simple. So as we walk through this garden, all you're going to see is my barren strawberry and my Biakova geranium. And the Biakova is going to flower heavily in the early spring with like a pink blush to a white flower. And then you can deadhead it and you'll have some flowers spontaneously through the summer. And then Biakova also has a really nice fragrance to it. If you crush the foliage, it smells really nice. So that's where we are on the front of the house here. And then where we've got these air conditioners, I just used some common boxwood to go ahead and screen out the air conditioners. And in a year or two, you won't even see those air conditioners. It's all going to grow together, but I think right now we have enough to definitely soften the view of them. And then to the right here, this is a Chinoides rhododendron. And Chinoides has a white bloom, and I went with the white bloom because of the red house. I wanted that nice contrast. But we have Chinoides, which is going to grow to be maybe 4 or 5 feet tall in 10 to 15 years. But it tends to spread more than grow up. So in a few years, this vent for the oil is going to basically just get eaten up by the Chinoides rhododendron and kind of blend in. And then we've got some more of the Biakova geranium in the front there. That'll eventually grow together and just form one grouping of plants. And then we've got the Waldestinia again in front of the boxwood. And then to the right of this window, I went with Coast Leucothoi axillaris. And again, I wanted to keep it with something that's going to be lower growing. So Coast Leucothoi, you're looking at 3 feet, 3.5 feet is as tall as it's going to get. And as it grows up, it'll start to spread out. And you'll notice that the new growth has a reddish tinge to it. It's a little bit wilty right now, but the new growth has a nice reddish tinge to it. And Coast Leucothoi also has a nice fall color. It turns like a lavender reddish color in the fall. And then we've got one Fothergilla over there, and then I have a grouping of some Fothergilla along the driveway here as well, just to kind of soften up the corner there where the Belgian block meets the drive. So Fothergilla is going to have a late spring bloom with bottlebrush white flowers. It's the summer now. It's just basically going to be green in the summer. And then come the fall, it'll have really nice foliage with mixes of yellows, oranges, and reds. And you can see we've also got some Biakova there. And then we've also got the Waldestinia as well to kind of fill in that bed. And then the last thing I want to show you is just this one little feature. It's been a rainy spring, and when we were working, I left one day and we had some really heavy downpours. And when I came back the next day, all the soil was washed out. So I asked my clients if they had any spare bluestone around, and they showed me this. So what I did is right where this bluestone is right where the soil was washed out. So I just went ahead and took some, old bluestone from the property, put it in level. I brought this board from my house, and that's a board I milled myself with my mill. And then I just put some rocks in there to kind of catch the water. And we've had several rainstorms since that first storm. And my client said the water just runs right across there beautifully, and it doesn't catch the mulch. The water was catching the mulch and just running right away. So little things like this, it probably took me a half hour, 45 minutes to do, but it's going to make a huge difference down the road, because every time it rains, we're not going to be raking the mulch off the driveway. So that is the tour of this beautiful house, and I hope you folks enjoyed seeing it. It's been a pleasure doing the job, and I guess I'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.